Real stories, real people, finding joy and meaning after 60. One of the most beautiful things about this stage of life is that every person has a story, not just of survival, but of growth, healing, and rediscovery. In this part, let's meet 4 real individuals from different walks of life who found unexpected joy, purpose, and even adventure after retirement. Mr. Pei, the garden giver, age 72, US. Mr. Pei spent 40 years working in construction. After retiring, he felt restless. He missed the structure, the teamwork, and most of all, the sense of contribution. One morning, he decided to plant a few vegetables in his backyard. By the 3rd month, he had more tomatoes than he could eat. So he started leaving baskets of fresh produce at his neighbors' doors, quietly, without a word. Soon, he became known as the garden giver. Children would stop by to ask how to plant carrots. He started small workshops on composting. Now, at 72, his garden isn't just food. It's friendship, joy, and legacy. I thought retirement would be silence, but my garden taught me how to speak again, with actions, not words. Ms. Aiko, painting her memories, age 68, Japan. Aiko had never held a paintbrush until she was 66. She'd spent most of her life taking care of her family, running the household, and helping at her husband's clinic. After he passed away, loneliness crept in. One day, she found an old watercolor set in her attic. She sat down and painted the mountain view outside her window. It wasn't perfect, but it was hers. She painted her memories, her childhood street, the noodle shop she loved, the red scarf her husband wore every winter. Now her home is filled with soft, colorful canvases. Her granddaughter helps her post them online, and people from all over the world leave comments like, "Your art feels like home." Uncle Min, traveling Vietnam, one motorbike ride at a time, age 70, Vietnam. Min had never left the south of Vietnam. He always dreamed of visiting the mountains in the north. At 70, with the encouragement of his son, he bought a second-hand motorbike and set out on a trip alone. He documented everything on an old phone. The rice terraces of Sapa, the winding roads of Ha Giang, the laughter of strangers who offered him tea. He slept in small homestays, ate street food, and sometimes just stared at the clouds. When he came home, his eyes sparkled with a new fire. He now gives talks at local clubs about travel after 60 and helps other seniors plan safe, budget-friendly adventures. Mrs. Huang, the community storyteller, age 75, Vietnam. Once a literature teacher, Mrs. Huang missed the joy of storytelling. So she started a weekly gathering in her neighborhood. Every Thursday morning, 10 to 15 older adults would sit under the tamarind tree and share stories from their youth. Funny ones, sad ones, stories of love, war, childhood mischief. Someone brought a guitar. Someone else brought sticky rice. The circle grew. Now her little gathering has inspired others across the city. They even recorded a podcast called Echoes of Our Lives. The past isn't gone. It's living in our stories. And stories keep us young. Final message of Part 4. You don't have to be famous or extraordinary to inspire. Sometimes the most moving stories come from quiet lives lived fully. You are not too old to create, to give, to explore, to grow. This stage of life is not a decline. It's a deeper blooming,